Hi everyone, I hope you're all having an amazing week. My name is Danny James and today I'll be showing you how to create elegant modern titles for your videos. If you're new here, kindly consider subscribing. We are on the way to our first 1,000 subscribers. Give this video a like if you happen to enjoy it, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. Also, we're going to be working on Adobe After Effects to create this animation for the titles. And let's start by setting up a new composition. Let's have it at around 10 seconds. This is a good duration. With a new composition, we need now to have a black solid which will remain beneath. This is not necessary, but for the aesthetics that we're going to be creating, I'd like us to create a new solid, preferably in gray. So you can look at the color codes right here. And that's good. Now we want to create our first title. Let's write modern, and then let's create our second title. So make sure to align it like that, and then duplicate it, and then right beneath we'll set up a different word, modern title. So for the sake of good aesthetics for modern titles, let's change the fonts. So I want us to go with a matching font, but want to be a bit bold and the other one to be lighter. Okay, let's go with this font. It's called Oswald. So I'll start with giving it a regular is good. And then for the title, which is right beneath, I'd give it the same font but something very light. Now let's increase this, and then we shall decrease the size. And then for this other one, let's increase the spacing just a bit. So I hope now you can get what you're going for. It's a little bit cinematic whenever you can look at such a font. When you look at these two titles, you can see that they are of the same family, but they have different sizes and strength. So this is a really good way we can go with this. Now we need to animate it coming from the bottom up and all that. So I'll start by hiding this other one so that you can concentrate on this. Now we want this one to appear from right here and then appear right here. So the way to do that, we'll need to work with mattes, and I'll show you how that works. So just to create a shape, I'll create a shape. Also, I'm making sure to not have selected on anything here. And then I'll create a shape, go back to my selection tool, and then I'll place this shape right here. So the shape is in black, the rectangle is in black, and the text is in white. So I'll drag it here so that it's immediately above this, and then on this option, you can toggle switches and modes. Under the name modern, we need to change the matte to this rectangle shape. So you see what happens, automatically this layer becomes disabled. So now on this text layer, if I bring up my keyframes for position, I'll enable keyframes, then I'll move that keyframe to the 1 second mark, and then I'll have it appear from beneath. So that's a really cool way to make text appear. And always never forget easier keyframes. So that's good. So with this text appearing like that, we need to bring something else. We need to bring a line which appears on this place. It can come right here, then, or alternatively, instead of going through this, you can just get a a pen tool, and then let's draw a line. Make sure to not be selecting on anything. So I'll collapse this, I'll draw a line from here, and then I'll hold shift so that it's a straight line. Go back to your selection tool. Okay, so you can see we didn't really draw a line, we were drawing a mask because we didn't select. We needed to not select on anything. And then now we have a new shape layer. Go to this side and hold shift so that you have a straight line. Go back to your selection tool, and then these are the parameters for the lines. So we don't want a fill, but instead we want a stroke. Hold alt while clicking here, and then hold alt while clicking here. Now we have a stroke. You can increase it or have it like that. You can also make it longer if we need to. Then we can place it right here. So remember to also name your layers, stroke line. We'll also come and deal with this title. I'd like us to finish up with this line. Again, with this stroke line, we want to change parameters of scaling so that it can scale and get longer or shorter. But the way to do it, we need to make sure the anchor point, this point is centered here. So how you do it, go to layer, go to transform, center anchor point. And now if we do scaling, if we do a property for scaling, it will begin from there. And then coming right here, that's when it will go back to 100. So we have a good animation, just reduce the timing. So that's a really good way. Again, we can make this, we can have 2 lines appearing, and how we'll only do that, we'll duplicate this, and then on this second line, we can change the color for it so that you can see it. Let's change the color to something, I would go with yellow. So our yellow line will appear, but we need to offset these keyframes. So I'll just hit U, and then I'll have this appear after this one. Okay, yellow isn't the best color. Let's go for something a bit darker like this red. Okay, that's good. So I'll just make sure these keyframes are closer like that. So that's a really good way to add this line. So let's collapse these 2 lines, and then we can work on our second title, which is this the word title. So let me enable it. You also need this title to appear afterwards, so I'll move it right after the 1 second mark. So right here, it's when this title should appear. Okay, and then we shall do the same thing we did with this other shape layer. Make sure to not click anywhere, bring a rectangle tool and draw a rectangle over this word. Zoom in, take your selection tool, put it right there. Again, we don't need a stroke but a fill instead. A black fill will do. Just as we did, bring it here and then name it matte title. And then we also forgot to give names to this other shape, matte modern. And now remember, under the title, we'll change the track matte here to alpha matte, and then title will appear. Let's add keyframes for title. Position keyframes, enable the keyframe, squeeze it to the right, and then you can have it come from up. Squeeze the 2 keyframes together. Again, don't forget, we could highlight all these keyframes and then put them on easy ease. So let's make sure they are a bit closer to the first word. That's generally it. I hope you really get the workaround for this. And now to finish this look, we'll add some aesthetics to this background. And how we'll do that, go back to your yellow solid, go to the effects. Remember, for this gray solid, I said that we'd add some aesthetics to make this look even good. So under this yellow solid, go to your effects and look for an effect named grid. It should be right under generate. Put it right here. What it will give us, it will give us some points. Now I noticed as soon as I added this grid, the color went to black. Maybe that's because we need to change the blending mode. Let's change the blending mode to add. Yes, so that's good. And then the color for these lines is white, but you can reduce the opacity so that they are not extremely visible. Yes, that's good. Now you can work with this grid as it is, but if you need to have more lines or need to customize it, it's just from right here. If you adjust these parameters, you're able to get some cool stuff. With the y-axis and the x-axis, you can get more grids or less. You can also adjust this anchor. So I really like the way it looks. Now I'd like us to add one more aesthetics. I want us to add something to rotate around here. So get your text layer, make sure to not be highlighted on anything. So I'll squeeze it, I'll click on somewhere random, bring a text layer, and then I'll add a plus, something like that. And then right under character, you can change the font, something like that. Then let's bring it around here. You can make it smaller, like that. I'll rotate this so that it stands at 90 degrees. So right now we have this plus sign and we have chosen a font for it. Now let's add some keyframes for it. Let's hit R to get the rotation keyframes. From here we'll go at half a second and then we'll rotate it. So if we watch it, again, the reason why it's not rotating properly, it's because you haven't fixed the anchor point by going to layer, transform, center anchor points. So right now it's good, but then we went too much with the rotation. We needed to go at least once. So that's a complete rotation. Let's squeeze it up to the 1 second mark. Okay, so it rotates clockwise, and then you can have it stop for a bit and then have it go back again. So I'll copy this first keyframe and place it here. Now let's watch this. And then copy those keyframes, these two again. So I'm really using my eye to measure. I'm not being super accurate because you don't really need to. Now let's look at it. Okay, so that's good. And then you can rotate it back to the first keyframe. Okay, so let's highlight on all these keyframes, put them on easy ease. Now I want this to appear on the four corners of the composition, so Ctrl D to duplicate, and then let's bring the other one on this southeastern side. And then I'd like us to duplicate, but I'd also like these keyframes to look a bit different. So I'll duplicate and then I'll delete the keyframes for rotation on this one, so that you can set our own. So I'll hit P so that I can know which one it is. So it's this one. I'll push it right here. Now add keyframes for rotation, hit R, then going to the first point. No, I wouldn't try to follow these ones. These are the keyframes. I'd try to make it look as unique as possible. So I'll go to whichever mark I want, and then I'll rotate it towards the negative. We'll go backwards. Now let's watch it. And then go a few frames, rotate it again. Okay, so there is something happening which is a bit different from this other one, and that sells the idea. Okay, so let's have this continue. And then it will copy this keyframe back again. So we can do anything. We can let it stay, pause for a while, and then you can copy another keyframe. So let's watch how it moves. And then you'll have it go back to this keyframe. So something like that. Now I'll highlight on all of them, keyframe assistant, easy ease. And then I'll duplicate these, and then I'll bring that one to the top right hand side. So let's watch the entire animation. I'll also bring these aesthetics to the bottom so that we have the titles on top. Okay, so like that. Yeah, so that's the way of bringing in everything. Now the animation again is to make the text disappear in the same way that they came on. So with this title and everything, we'll have to reverse our movements back. So we'll start by collapsing this title. So we'll copy its keyframes and then make sure the first keyframes become the last, and then I'll put it right here at around the 5th second, so it will go back. Now let's do the same with the word modern. I'll hit U to see the keyframes. I'll copy these keyframes and then I'll paste them. Make sure the first keyframe is the last one. And finally, we'll do the same thing for these two lines. So hold shift while clicking on them, hit U, copy their keyframes. So you need to copy a keyframe from only one layer, and if you don't do that, you'll copy the entire layer. I'll do the same on this other one. Make sure the first keyframe becomes the last one, and also put these keyframes in the order that they appear. So I can see these ones appeared first, so we'll make sure they appear first here. We can now preview this modern title and see if we like it. Yeah, so I think what we'll need to adjust, we need to adjust the timing for these lines. so that they appear almost the same time they came on with the word. Yeah, so that's it from me today. I hope you've learned something, and if you enjoy such a video, kindly comment below and let me know what other videos you'd like to see. My name is Danny James. See you in the next one. Cheers.